Vice President Kamala Harris, with help from the legacy media, of course, continues to push a campaign talking point that the deaths of two Georgia women who took abortion drugs in 2022 were caused by their state's pro-life laws. Of course, trying to link that back to Donald Trump. Now, this narrative ignores both the details of the medical care received by both women as well as the inherent dangers posed by chemical abortion drugs being sent through the mail as a result of the policies by the Biden-Harris administration. The pro-life medical community has been sounding the alarm regarding the dangers of the abortion drugs for years. Joining me now to explain what is really taking place here is Dr. Ingrid Skop, Vice President of Medical Affairs at the Charlotte Lozier Institute and a board-certified OB/GYN. Dr. Skop, welcome to Washington Watch once again.
Thanks, Tony. I'm so glad to be with you to discuss this heartbreaking situation.
So lay out the facts for us in these tragic deaths that are being exploited by Democrats. We've seen the vice president yesterday. This was in a Senate Finance Committee. These were alluded to. Tell us what's going on.
We learned of these women's deaths in a recent ProPublica article, which of course immediately placed the blame on Georgia's pro-life laws. But the reality is Amber Thurman died of sepsis following mifepristone and misoprostol, which the FDA maintains a black box warning on mifepristone, warning doctors that this drug can cause an unusual sepsis that can kill women. And there have been dozens of women who have died that we know of from this virulent and aggressive infection. Candy Miller also died following complications of these drugs in Georgia. And as you mentioned, the FDA has, over time, has progressively removed so many safeguards on these drugs that right now they can be ordered online, they can be delivered through the mail, and women get them, and then they are having a totally medically unsupervised do-it-yourself abortion. And when complications happen, and they're frequent, at least 1 out of 20 women, these women have nowhere to turn.
So explain the connection that Vice President Harris is trying to make with the pro-life laws in Georgia being responsible for these deaths since they took the dangerous abortion pill unsupervised.
Well, isn't it ironic that the changes the FDA made were all prior to the Dobbs decision that overturned Roe v. Wade? So this was not, allowing these drugs to be readily available was not a response to the Dobbs decision. This was the plan all along. And they have never seemed to care about the women who've been harmed. In fact, they don't look very hard for complications. In 2016, the FDA said, you know what, don't even tell us about any complications from these drugs unless they kill the woman. So while not maintaining data, they've allowed these drugs to flood our country. And this all happened long before the Dobbs decision. But of course, we've seen since the Dobbs decision that abortion advocates have pointed at these laws. They've misinformed the American public about the laws. They've intentionally stirred up confusion and fear-mongering among doctors. They've failed to explain the laws to doctors. And so what we see is confusion on the ground, confusion with women. At least part of what happened in these women not presenting for care in a timely manner may have been their misinformation that women would be prosecuted for seeking abortion. No, they just needed to present for care so they could be receive the quality care that every single pro-life law allows. The ProPublica article, by trying to confuse, said that a DNC is illegal. No, a DNC is just a method of providing medical care. What is illegal is ending human life electively in Georgia. So this kind of confusion obviously may have led to some confusion with the doctors on the ground. It's not really clear, but the reality is the Georgia law allowed the doctors to do whatever they wanted to do. The women died from these dangerous drugs, and that was an action taken by the FDA long before the Dobbs decision.
So, Dr. Skop, part of that confusion, we've heard this from the Vice President, we heard it again yesterday in this committee hearing in the Senate, that doctors in these pro-life states like Georgia are prohibited from doing miscarriage care. Speak to that.
It's absolutely untrue. And a fifth grader who opened up these laws would immediately see that it says an exception is for miscarriage management. An exception is for ectopic management and an abortion that is needed for the life of the mother. So it is absolutely clear. And I think it just shows, honestly, the desperation of pro-abortion ideologues, that they feel they have to lie so blatantly in order to deceive the American public. But it's crucial that we get the truth out, because apparently in some situations, doctors may have been convinced by reading the pro-abortion media and they've never read the law. But it is absolutely, doctors can do whatever they need to do to protect women's lives, and they should continue to do that.
So, Dr. Skop, are you saying that the pro-abortion rhetoric, the rhetoric coming from the Vice President and the Democratic Party, is actually causing women to die?
It is deadly. It's the lies, not the laws, that are causing these deaths. And what a dangerous game they're playing, that they would be willing to risk the lives of American women in order to promote their political ideology.
That is not surprising, but it is very troubling that they would allow women and doctors to be confused just so that they can achieve their political objectives, even if it costs the lives of women, the very ones they say that they are for. Dr. Skop, I want to thank you for joining us. Always great to see you, and I always appreciate your insight.
Thank you, Tony, so much for this opportunity to spread the truth.